Hi everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our review of the new 2024 Bauer Supreme Shadow equipment. In this second video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the blocker and the catcher. So if we start with the blocker here, as I mentioned in part 1, the national team guys have had a field day testing this out already, as you can see from all the putt marks that we already have on here. So can't take credit for all of these, sadly, but you know, from the feedback I've had from others and from using it yesterday, it's a fantastic blocker and it works really, really well. So what we'll be focusing on in this video is just the slight improvements and adjustments that Bauer have made to the Shadow blocker versus the Mac from a couple of years ago. So the first change that Bauer have made is we have a larger sidewall on the blocker now, and that's there purely just for increased coverage. Bigger surface area should, in theory, mean less puck sneaking through. So in particular, when we're sealing the arm and the body there, having a bigger blocker surface there means that hopefully we'll have less puck sneaking through. And who can say no to a bigger surface area, bigger blocking surface? So obviously it's still legal, it's still within the sort of professional limitations on how big it can be. But just by increasing the surface area there, it's just naturally going to give you a better opportunity to seal that gap between the arm and the body and stop more pucks. So the other update Bauer have made to the blocker is they've adopted the ergo backhand from the Hyperlight range from last year. I'm a big fan of this. I was last year when I reviewed the Hyperlight 2s. We just have an ergonomic shaped backhand with some sort of memory foam in there as well. And that just makes the blocker super comfortable, but also gives you a lot of stability. So where it hugs the back of the hand, wherever your hand goes, the blocker goes. It's really nice and stable. If the puck sort of hits you off center, the blocker sort of stays with you there. Doesn't sort of roll around. Just gives you a ton of stability, molds to your hand, and just allows you to have a lot more control over where the entire blocker goes. So big fan of that. I was last year as well, and I'm glad that Bauer have started to put that onto the Supreme blockers as well as the Vapors from last year as well. So not sure if this is a new feature or not, but it's on the list of features. We have the Defense Cloud Tech on the finger protection here. So as all goalies will know from one time or another, your index finger is extremely exposed and susceptible to puck impact there. Having a nice sort of spongy, cloudy bit of padding on the inside there is an absolute dream, and like drastically eliminates the possibility of sort of damage to the finger from puck impact on the side, especially when you're turning your hand inwards. Having something that's nice and spongy will absorb all the impact there and really reduce the risk of sort of finger injury there. The last thing, again, it's not new, but we have the flex cuff, or the free flex cuff, I should say, which we've seen on Supreme blockers for a while, but the range of motion that this gives you is fantastic. We've still got a big chunk of protection there. It's got the Defense Cloud Tech in there as well, so you're going to have a ton of impact protection when your hand might be exposed. It can happen, but having such a slim sort of cuff on there just allows you all the mobility in the world, either like directing rebounds away or when you're sort of playing the puck. You've got complete freedom and movement on there, which is really, really good, really, really comfortable, and I'm a big fan of. Again, I said this 2 years ago, one thing I would change about the blocker is the length of these finger protectors there. I understand that they're there for protection, but me just being a little bit nitpicky, they just get in the way of sort of picking sticks up, moving your cage and your helmet out of the way. I much prefer the Vapor version, which has a slimmer bit of finger protection there. But again, it's a very, very small criticism. It's probably just me being picky, but it's an honest review, so I didn't want to leave it out. So overall, I'm a big fan. There wasn't much that needed to be changed on the blocker, but Bauer made just a few subtle improvements, and I'm really, really impressed with how it works. So if we move on now to the catcher, just on a side note, these cool little rugby ball shaped cushions that Bauer have been putting into their catchers now, I'm a big fan of. Helps you just keep the shape and that depth of the pocket there. Wish I'd have had one of these a couple of years ago when I got mine, but it's a cool little addition, shall we say. So subtle improvements that Bauer have made to the Shadow catcher. We have the Max Perimeter catcher, and basically what that means is it has now the largest pocket of any catcher that Bauer makes. So this whole, you can see it just the size of my hand, this pocket here. It's legal, obviously. There are sort of limitations on how big that can legally be, especially in professional hockey. But you can see just on the camera, that's absolutely enormous pocket there. Add that with the skate lace, which I'm personally a huge fan of as well, and you've got a huge pocket there which completely swallows and kills the puck. You'll see from our on ice video when we release that in a couple of weeks that a lot of the time I didn't even have to close the catcher to keep the puck in. Just this huge pocket with the skate lace kills it dead, and it just swallows the puck in there really, really easily. So I'm a huge fan of that. Other features we have the curved composite in the cuff itself, and that's just there to increase protection in that sort of wrist and forearm area. You'll see in some other catchers, not necessarily Bauer, but you'll get a lot of cracks in here, which can obviously affect the durability of the catcher, but also the protection in that sort of wrist and sort of forearm area. So having a chunk of composite in there, composite doesn't weigh anything, so it's basically super light and efficient protection in that sort of cuff area of the glove there. So I'm a big fan of that. Bauer have updated their hybrid range of motion strap from the Mac a couple of years ago. This was the bit I was most critical of the Mac catcher a couple of years ago, is that I felt that it didn't really have a proper wrist strap. I felt like it stopped on the back of the hand and there was nothing further down on the wrist to make me feel like my hand was secure. So Bauer seemed to have improved on that and adjusted their sort of range of motion strap. So it feels like it's properly on the hand now. I don't feel like I'm constantly forcing my hand into the catcher to feel secure, like it's actually on my hand. So big fan of that. I still feel like the finger stalls are a bit too shallow. I feel like I'm sort of hitting my fingers on the end of the stalls before my hand is properly in there. So, which I think is just a bit strange. I don't have particularly big hands, but I feel like I'm forcing my hand in and it's getting to the end of the finger stalls before I feel like my hand is fully in the catcher. So that's probably my only criticism of this catcher here. But otherwise, the strap itself is further down onto the wrist, so it actually feels a bit more secure on my hand, which is a great improvement. We still have the Catch Grip Plus in the finger stall, so that sort of gel, sort of textured material on the fingertips. So even when your hand is sweaty, it feels like you're not losing grip inside the catcher there, which was on the Mac, is on the Hyperlight 2, still on the Shadow here as well. So big fan of that, and I'm glad that they've not tried to mess around with that too much. We still have the Defense Cloud Tech in the palm here. So testing this out yesterday, absolutely no stingers whatsoever. This is a game-ready palm, so you can obviously have more protection with the Pro or the practice palms, but I didn't feel like it needed it. I think the DCT did its job on the palm here. No sort of stingers, no puck impact through there, which hurt me whatsoever. So big fan of that. The retail is a 75-degree break. We will be doing a video in the next couple of weeks, which will break down all the different sort of catcher breaks within the Bauer range, which should hopefully provide some insight now that we have 3 different options available. So yeah, so that's everything from my review of the Shadow range. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments, either on YouTube or on Instagram. Again, huge thank you to the guys at PuckStop for making this video possible, for sending us this equipment. If you haven't done so already, please give us a like and a follow both on YouTube and Instagram. We're really striving to hit that 4,000 follower mark on Instagram by the end of June. So share it with your friends, give us a follow if you don't do so already. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and please stay tuned for our on-ice footage of the Bauer Shadow equipment in the next few weeks.